If you'd like to join the ranks of Patreons and sponsor the show, head over to patreon.com/Cellar Door Skeptics. For less than a 20-ounce soda or an energy drink each week, you can help sponsor us, the hosts, and our charity of choice. Patreon helps Cellar Door Skeptics create better content, become better activists, and it's going to help you stay healthier by drinking one less soda or one less energy drink each week. Click the link in the notes of the show to sponsor us today, because we bring the discussion with the sources.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walk with me through the cellar door.
A storm is coming, Fred says.
A portal to a more skeptical world.
Cellar Door Skeptics begins right now. Prepare for the revolution with your hosts, Christopher Tanner and Chris Hanna.
Welcome back to Cellar Door Skeptics. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. If you would like to, you can head over to our Patreon channel. And I only say this because tonight we have a whole bunch of topics, but we always do like a pre-show. And this week, we decided to record a commercial. And you can hear Boyce and I cussing for about 4.5 minutes while we try and record 30 seconds of audio. It's absolutely hilarious. So we have that over on our Patreon. You can head on over there. That's the only place you can check it out. Plus, whenever we do a show, we actually do pre-show audio, and we kind of throw it up into there for those that are patrons of the show. Patrons? I don't know how you say that. Anyway, without further ado, let me bring my co-hosts in. Boyce from Mindful Skeptic Podcast, and Keith from, now our podcast, the Canadian podcast.
Wait, what? Wait, what? Did I start something that I didn't know about?
You did. Well, we have a special announcement tonight. So we've kind of teased this for the last couple of weeks, but the decision has been made. We'd like to officially announce Keith as a reoccurring co-host for the show. Welcome aboard, Keith. I give you little clappy effects, but last time we recorded, you gave the clappy effects. Oh, there we go. 12 seconds of applause, Keith. 12 seconds of applause. Anyway, we decided we wanted to branch the show out a little bit, and
when the applause is longer than the show.
Exactly. Yeah,
longer than my sex life.
All right, good to know.
Wait.
Moving forward, we just gonna derail the whole show 3 minutes in. As we wanted to expand the show a little bit. We're coming up. We came up on 3 years. We've officially passed our 3-year mark. We will have a 3-year anniversary show once Hannah is able to join back in a couple of weeks. But what we wanted to do is to divvy the show up a little bit and bring in some fresh blood to the show to kind of get other people's opinions. So Boyce has been joining us over the summer, and Keith is now going to join us for an official Canadian segment to look at the difference between American and Canadian politics. Because we don't know. Maybe there's a difference. Maybe we're all just human. Maybe we're all just shit. And maybe it's because he lives in Calgary. So.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
I think you have a stow you got to start taking off here, man.
Also tonight joining me is going to be Boyce from Mindful Skeptics. How are you tonight, Boyce?
Another day, brother. Loving it.
Yeah. It's kind of weird going back to this late night recording. For a while, we were recording middle of the day. It was like sober fest around here. Now I'm actually able to have a couple of drinks. I'm not traveling Sundays anymore like I used to. So we have some new things in store.
Wasn't an excuse to get day drunk?
No, when you have kids, Keith, it kind of doesn't work really well, because by the time you finish the podcast and you've been day drinking, you don't want to do anything else, and then you spend money on dinner, and you have to pay to have it delivered. And next thing you know, it's like $60 down the road, and you're in bed by 8 o'clock. And then about 4 a.m. you wake up, and you're like, that sucked. Why am I up at 4 a.m.? What am I going to do at 4 a.m.? I can't go to work, so.
Masturbate?
Well, that's always an option.
I'm not gonna lie. There's going to be an explicit tag on this show now, like every episode, because I don't have a filter.
Well, we'll work on your filter. We'll figure that out. Anyway, we wanted to start the show. We wanted to start the show tonight, talking about our promo video. So if you haven't seen our promo video, it's up on Facebook as well as on Mindful Skeptics YouTube channel, and you can actually see what we're about to talk about. So I'll give you a few seconds. All right, click over, click again. Okay, there you go. Now you can see the wonderful animation graphics that we created, as well as Mike Pence's motorcade. And Keith, this is kind of close to Canada. You know, it's Mackinac Island, which is not Canada, but it's not really Michigan either. But at Mackinac Island, they've had a rule since the late 1800s that no cars are going to be allowed on the island. Now, I know they didn't have cars before then, right? But they made a decision that they did not want cars to physically ever be on this island. And yet, we had a vice president decide this weekend he needed a motorcade to be landed on Mackinac Island. Isn't that crazy?
8 vehicles.
That's crazy, right?
It is
What a
selfishly
dick.
crazy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know I don't know where to go with this. I mean, we talked about him as a Sith Lord, right? I mean, so there you go. We'll start this off. Boyce, what's your opinion? Do you think he can be comparable to Lord Vader?
No, Vader was pretty cool. No, he's just such a. He reminds me more of like that movie in The Incredibles, when you got that other guy that wants to be the bad guy, but he can't be a good. There it is. He reminds me of that guy. He wants to be something he's not. And he's really just a mouthpiece for the religious right. And to come to Mackinac like that and whip your business end out to say, I can do whatever I want. I'm the vice king of the United States, you know, and I'll bring all my cars I want. But 8 cars for one dude with his tiny ego. It's really off-putting to disregard all the customs. It's just...
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because it's Michigan, right? I mean, it's America. We don't have... How many customs do we even really have? But that one place. And I'll tell you what, you know how many times I've gone to Mackinac Island, and I don't know how to ride a bike. Just so everybody on the show knows, and everybody listening, I don't honestly know how to ride a bike. I've never ridden a bike in my whole life, other than the one time somebody tried to teach me when I was a kid, and I fell off, hit my head really hard, said, screw this, I'm done. Never went back to it. I learned how to drive very early in life. But anyway, you know, I even went there, and as much as it pains me, I didn't ride a bike. I either took a carriage or I walked. You just walk. And I get it, maybe as a vice president, it's not super safe to walk, but they could have shut the island down. They could have done all these things. And what was he even there for? Does anybody know? I don't even know why he was specifically on Mackinac Island.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know what that is either, but here's the deal. If you can't go to the motorcade and it's not safe, don't go. It's a big country.
He visited to speak to the Michigan Republic Leadership Conference, which has long been held on the island. He told the crowd that he had visited Mackinac often while growing up and into adulthood, according to the Detroit News. I pulled up an article on Business Insider because all I knew was that he was being yelled at over doing some stupid shit like this. And I was like, okay, let's really find out just how dumb this is.
So it's always been done there, and he's the first vice president to bring cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And you know, that's the funny thing is we could talk. I mean, do you honestly think that it's unsafe? I mean, honestly, do you need to be in a physical car? I mean, if somebody's going to shoot you, yeah, maybe a bulletproof glass in your car, and maybe that's a thing. But do you honestly think that you're not going to be just as vulnerable at the hotel that I'm assuming they were at Grand Mac Hotel, you know? Right. You're on some sort of a helicopter. People can shoot the helicopter down. I mean, for Christ's sake, I don't know. It just seems a little over the top to me, you know?
It just seems like a bit of overkill. That's for damn sure. But like I said, if it's going there every year, why is this the first time anybody's ever done it? How insecure is he?
I don't know.
To be fair, if you're the right-hand man to the orange Cheeto in charge, you kind of recognize that you've pissed off a whole lot of people and that you probably need a little bit of protection. Either that or he's just too fucking lazy to walk because mother caned his ass for even looking at a lady's ankles.
Mother.
God, that's like, I'm sorry, this is one of the creepiest human beings I've ever seen. Like, I'm looking at him right now and I want to make a joke about him looking more like Darth Sidious than Darth Vader, but I also don't want to sully the name of Darth Sidious by even comparing the two. I mean, it looks like he's a face was drawn on a balloon and then the balloon was blown up, so the face could only get so big, but the rest of the balloon was getting bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he looks so uncomfortable.
Oh, of course, easily uncomfortable.
What I usually say about him, he looks like the geriatric Ken doll with that fake perfect part and that like his face doesn't animate at all.
Ew.
He looks like a Ken doll that just aged.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. You're pretty spot on there.
Or Sean Hannity's going to look like that when he gets to be 70 or some shit.
Sean Hannity's probably going to have to lose a lot of weight. I mean, at least Pence looks like he might know what a Stairmaster looks like.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because, you know, we talk about we talk all the time about, you know, the money being spent, what's happening, all those other things. And we sit here and they brought a motorcade. And to me, all it does is say that, hey, look, we're here. We're going to make a difference. But we're going to make the difference to say we get to choose the rules we follow and the rules we don't follow. That's what that says to me. And
we're special, and look at how special we are.
Exactly.
It's a power move.
Yep. That's all. Well, isn't that pretty much all this administration does? Is everything they do is just to try to show how big and tough they are? I mean, for a while there, wasn't everybody laughing at Trump trying to pull people in? And then all of a sudden he tries to pull Trudeau, and Trudeau's like, nah, motherfucker, now I'm going to pull your girl. And Trump didn't get away with it. And now suddenly it's like he doesn't do that anymore. Although I think it also blew back on his face when when somebody realized that the Japanese minister did his handshake in such a way that it basically said the Japanese minister was dominant over Trump. So while Trump is sitting there going, I pulled you off balance, ha ha ha, so funny. The Japanese minister is just like, okay, but your hand is on the bottom, bitch.
Exactly. They have the weird little customs there too.
They do. And like we really can't expect somebody as really who is nothing more than a billionaire piece of trash to be that cultured and understand different cultural traditions. Like we really can't expect that out of him.
No.
I don't know. I don't know. It goes back to, I mean, and we could take a vote here. Is he a Darth Lord or is he a snowflake?
Oh, total snowflake. Total snowflake.
All right. There you have it, folks. Right here on Cellar Door Skeptics Podcast, he is officially not a Sith Lord.
He's not worthy.
Nope, he's not.
He does not let the hate flow through him.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because that kind of goes into our next topic that I wanted to talk about, is the UN is now telling us that what we are doing with migrant children is illegal. So
yeah, I thought that was obvious.
I think so too. I don't disagree with you. I really genuinely believe in the exact same way that, yes, I deep down know that there's no way that this was legal, but there's a lot of people out there that won't believe us, right? You know, I guarantee you right now, and I have over 1,300 Facebook friends, and probably 10% of them are Republican, right? I keep Republicans around. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'll have a conversation or I won't have a conversation with them. And but I guarantee you, if I posted this and tagged one or two of them, they would all come out and it would have 100 people on my my Facebook page complaining about how there's no way the UN's right. There's no way that the UN can officially be correct about this. And they would continue to contradict it just because Trump said so. Now, if Obama was on here, or I would even wager to say Clinton, if either of them were on here saying doing the same thing, it would be like, oh, why aren't we siding with the UN? Why don't we side with the UN? Why are we going against the UN? They're a world organization.
Well, yeah, it's whatever's convenient.
Yeah, whatever fits your bias. I think flat out it's a human rights violation, first and foremost. And also it's an asylum law violation because it's not legal as far as the UN goes to deny asylum seeking. And it's not a criminal act to seek asylum. So that's the big thing for me, where it's agreed upon with the UN. That's why you're in the UN. You have to abide by these agreed sets of standards for prisoners of war and human rights act. You can say like criteria, but to seek asylum just means that you're leaving somewhere that's not dangerous for you, or you're being oppressed for your views or whatever you want to call that, financial or security, and then or religious freedoms is another one too. But to have this current administration say, no, we're going to change the rules. Now you got to go through Mexico's asylum first. You can't seek asylum here unless you get it there first and be denied there. It's again, just making up the rules as you go, and no one's called them out on it yet. I'm dumbfounded by that, honestly. Between all the countries of NATO, they're just like, yeah, we'll see what this plays out to be.
Exactly, and it's ridiculous.
The one thing that really just grates on all of my nerves is the whole narrative that, these people, they're bad people. There are so many criminals and gangs in these places. We need to stop them from crossing the border. And it's like, okay, but these people are trying to get away from that. These people want to live a better life. They want to come here. They're willing to deal with your bullshit because it's inherently better than the fact that they may not make it home from the market that day, or they may not make it home from work, or any number of reasons why they may not end up, being alive within the next 2 or 3 days. And all they're doing is they're basically just sitting there hiding behind this whole, well, we don't want them in our country. Well, they're not coming. They're trying to flee that. Mm-hmm. You have no problem saying that there are all these horrific things going on in these other countries, yet you're not showing any sort of or backing that up at all by understanding people trying to get away from that.
Well, and also that the people that are leaving areas of Central America that have a problem that our country has created by interfering with their policies and their politics, I guess you'd say, where we're picking sides, and that kind of what's the one? It's not Argentina or Colombia, whichever it was. They're all fleeing one country, going to the next.
Venezuela.
There you go. I'm sorry. Yeah. So
They're
we created this
Colombia right now.
Yeah. So they have a free pass. Colombia's like, please come this way. We got you. And we're not better than Colombia. Like, what the hell's going on? Colombia, the capital of the Coke deal, and better for immigrants.
Actually, weird thing about Colombia, they've actually cleaned up their act quite a bit.
Yeah. They've they stopped being in bed with the Colombian drug lords.
Yeah. There's a gentleman I work with who's from Colombia, and he's here on a work visa right now. And he was telling me all about, he won't tell you it's as safe as maybe walking down the street here, in this city he's in right now. But he will tell you that, the corruption is completely gone. They don't have as many issues as they used to. You don't have as much to worry about. Another weird little fact, they like very bland food. They have good bakeries, but they like bland food. But anyway, they but the difference though is when you look at how their country is run, they're allowing them in, even though they are acknowledging right now that there's a crisis. They have an employment crisis right now, and they don't have laws or anything set up to protect some of the workers, so that they can't be undercut the way we do. Their minimum wage is nothing like ours, is. So, if you were to come in as a citizen here, or even apply and get a job, you'd have to be given minimum wage at the majority of normal jobs if you're going to become documented, right? And most in our country, you're supposed to be held to that standard, so that way we can make sure they get the benefits they need and all those other things, pay their taxes, all of that. In Colombia, they don't have that same infrastructure, but they're still welcoming them. And what does that say about us? We're trying to build a fucking wall.
Yeah.
That Trump thinks everywhere else is a shithole country, but really he's just creating a shithole country.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shitty situation, that's for sure. Well, I was in Cartagena, Colombia in the military, and I was in the Navy back in 97, I believe it was. And we went to the beach, and there's dudes out there selling cocaine. Just like, hey, coca buena, coca buena. And I'm like, what? And he rubs his nose, coca buena, coca buena. And I was like, Policia. And I pointed at him, and he whistled at him and says, hey. The guy waved at him. Hi, how you doing? He's like, yeah, he knows. You know. And we just went back to, no thanks, pal. We just keep throwing the football around, you know.
I was in Mexico in 2008.
You're a better man than me.
Yeah. I was in this little town called San Felipe, which is up at the top of the little Sea of Cortez there. And when we got there, our group, the guy who organized the group, he sat us all down and he goes, okay, I'm going to point some things out to you guys. And he pointed to the guard stations all along the beach, and they were all manned with guys holding M16s. And he goes, you can have fun, but if you're having fun that they don't like, they're going to tell you. You're probably not going to like the way they tell you, because they're sitting here waiting for drug runners to come up the ocean, to come up the sea here, because they'll come up here in their little fast boats and, you know, make a drop off or whatever. So y'all got to be careful. So it's kind of interesting to hear that, like, that's the way the corruption was, you know, like all the way down there, but that's only like 11 years difference.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even we went through a couple of check stops. Just looking for, you know, drugs or weapons or, you know, whatever else might be moved.
People.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's actually a bigger concern of mine than the drugs. You know, I mean, you bring drugs in, whatever. I mean, the difference is we need to create a better healthcare system to, you know, help structure that. And like, you know, anybody that's listening to the show is going to know that one of my big things, right, is legalize all drugs. Let's start taxing them, and let's get some regulation involved. And then as well, and let's get to the other side of the market that says, hey, let's provide free clinics for people. Let's provide safe spaces for people to use that want to use. Let's do those things, because to me, that's the only way we're going to get rid of some of this stuff. We're just, you can only get rid of things in a certain manner. And to me, that's one of the safest ways to do so, in my opinion. Plus, you get to make a little bit of tax revenue on top of that.
Well, and where the hell is it in Europe that they actually have safe usage sites, where basically you can go and, okay, and they've pretty much dropped their rate of overdosing almost like not to levels of zero, but it's to the point now where it isn't a problem.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think it isn't as big of a problem.
Yeah, it's all that street stuff is what it is, right? You know, and when you can make your own heroin and you can cut it with fentanyl. Like, that was a big thing last year, fentanyl. I mean, and we had to have conversations with the kids to say, hey, if people offer you something, don't take it. You know, this stuff is dangerous. There was people, get this, there was people who worked in nursing homes that would use fentanyl patches from patients and sell them or use them themselves. That's crazy. But there's enough of that drug left, and it's a strong enough drug that they could take it afterwards and use it and still get high off it. For somebody that doesn't need it medically. That's just crazy, right? That's insane. Who think about it this way, like, I would never take a used sandwich and eat the other half of it. I just wouldn't do it. Like, I guess if I'm absolutely starving and I have no way of getting any other food, yes. But other than that, why would I do that?
I guess the question is, what kind of sandwich?
Is it a pastrami?
No, I don't think there is any sandwich that you could say, here's a half a sandwich. I'm going to throw it into the garbage. You come dig it out and eat it. Again, if I had no money or I was homeless or something, I understand that. No shaming any people that have to do that, you know. But the difference becomes, though, is you have to be in a desperate situation. And if we're not willing to address shit, we've gone from immigration to opioids now. But if you're not willing to address the opioid crisis here, you know, folks, you're going to get those type of things. So if we address it by acknowledging it, legalizing it, and helping, you know, create a medical market that helps people that want to get help, You fix a lot of those issues. And you know, this is kind of funny, boys, because we can talk about Andrew Yang all night long because you love Andrew Yang. But this is something that I would expect him to, at some point, bring up. You know, even if he doesn't get the nomination this year and he doesn't run as an independent, this would be something that, you know, like if he moved his policies, and this is where like libertarians and I get along really well, is we believe in the legalization of all drugs. The difference is I believe in regulation, they don't. I believe in taxation, they don't. And I believe in giving medical help to those that need it for free, and they don't. But that's the beginning part where we can both start to agree and work towards a better solution.
Yeah, I think that that's going to be the next big hurdle, because like Colorado's kind of taking the initiative on that and legalized what's that called? The magic mushrooms.
Psilocybin or whatever. There you go.
Psilocybin, yeah. And so hallucinogens should be the next thing off the list. But honestly, I'm with you as far as drugs go. It's not about the drugs for me. It's about the freedom you have as an individual. If you want to go outside and kick yourself in the nuts, have at it. Just don't kick my nuts. You know, we're going to get along just fine. You're free to do stupid things. You're free to say stupid things as far as freedom of speech. You have the right to say the dumbest things I don't agree with. You have the right to do the drugs, to harm yourself in any way you see. It's not illegal to be an anorexic. You know, it's just not a smart move. It shouldn't be illegal to do, say, cocaine. It's just not a smart move. I consider it the same type of freedom of choice to choose to do whatever.
Exactly. So if we want to go all the way back to the article we were talking about from the New York Times, we could go back to, you know, the UN basically essentially saying, hey, we shouldn't be doing these different types of things, right? You know, and they actually called this out. They said, you know, they're essentially saying, hey, these accusations are something we should take seriously. And Trump comes back, and people that work for Trump, and they're basically saying the UN's hypocrites. And I don't even understand how they can come to that conclusion. How is the UN a hypocrite? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I agree with you there. Doesn't make much sense at all.
You want to know his answer? Do you want to know what his answer is? Or do you want to know what the administration answer is?
Sure.
Yes.
All right. That neither the United Nations nor anyone else will ever dictate how the United States will uphold their borders. That's their counter. That's it. That's the counter. That's the official counter from the White House, man.
So it's nuh-uh.
Nuh-uh to your huh? Crap. Wrong way. Like, what is actually... No, you know what? No, I'm not going to ask the question because it's just, my brain hurts. My brain hurts. The other thing Trump did, here's the second thing, man. He then decided to go on Twitter like he usually does. And he says, you know what? Maybe I agree that breaking up families was wrong. But it's the Democrats and their approach, and that's why we have bad legislation.
Yeah.
I can't even say it with a straight face anymore, man. I don't even understand how anybody could take this fool seriously. I don't get it. Like, people are so dead set on their bias that they can't get away from this, and I have no way of comprehending how anybody can actually consciously think he's a good person to vote for. I just don't get it.
That he's somebody who gives a fuck.
Well, it's like it's like Trump just says, I don't agree, but if I ever did, it's their fault. You know?
Exactly.
And really all that's just, all he's doing with that is just trying to poison the well against his political opponents. That's all that kind of a move is.
It's pure bullshit. You can't make sense out of nonsense.
It's juvenile bullshit. Yeah. Here.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, the other concerning thing is that the ACLU has basically said that the separations have accelerated over the last 5 weeks. So it's not like, even if he wants to acknowledge it, he hasn't done anything to stop it. Nobody's doing anything to stop it. Nobody's doing anything to basically say, hey, Maybe we should allow children to go back to their parents. Maybe we should stop trying to adopt them out. Nope. We just say it's the Democrats' fault. Maybe I made a mistake, but it's always because of the Democrats. And we run away.
Yeah.
That is like the largest toddler in the world.
Is that called Baby Huey?
Baby Donald.
Baby Donald. Oh, I don't know.
I refuse to change that diaper. I will let him sit in that all day.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to change his diaper either, man. I don't know. Don't know what to tell you. All I know is that it is insanely disgusting to think the way politics are going, that we'd even ever have to have these conversations. And it's kind of funny because I've been telling you I have all these Republicans on my Facebook page. They've disappeared for a while. And maybe it's because I posted less because I've been traveling a lot. But I posted a little bit more this week because I was home. And they've come back out. And, like I had a post about, not building a wall, but a bigger table, blah, blah, blah. And this guy goes, I don't think you understand most Republicans. And it's like, nope, I don't think that's the case here, buddy. I'm pretty sure I understand most Republicans. I'm pretty sure that they just aren't being honest with what they, with what they want. And he's like, nope, they're all honest. You just don't like their answers. It's like, all right, I give up. I'm done.
It's like, okay, if you're honest, you do realize that your answers mean you don't care about people, right? You're okay with locking children in cages. You do know that, right? Like, if you're being honest, that's what you're okay with.
Yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, let's go on to a little bit happier of a topic, I guess. And I say, I guess, only because I still am a little skeptical of this. But, and Boyce, this kind of goes back to our conversations that we've had, about some of the different candidates, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a state that is officially trying to make college free for their students. Isn't that crazy? I did not even hear of this until somebody tagged me in a post a couple of days ago about this. And so I started following the story, thought it would be a good conversation for the show because, one of the big things that is coming up is, Medicare for all or Medicaid for all. How do we get health insurance for everybody? How do we get free college tuition, right? Mm-hmm. And that's been across the board. Warren's talked about it. Yang's talked about it. Bernie has talked about it. All three of them have been very pro having the conversation about, what are we going to do with the student loan crisis, and can we make college free for people? Because the more educated people you have, the less Republicans you have voting. Is that the case? All right. That's just me being a little pissy, but the more educated, the more educated people you have, the better decisions that our country can make. Even if we don't agree politically with where they stand, they'll at least be have the higher ability to understand what it's going to take to change society. And I think this is just great. So did anybody else hear about this?
I've only heard about it recently in the last maybe week and a half. People talking about New Mexico taking their own initiative. I haven't heard too many details about it necessarily either.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that, right-wing outlets are kind of like, let's downplay that. We don't want to talk about that commie stuff. We don't want to seem like we support it, but we also don't want to seem like we want people to be stupid. Shit. How do we do this?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, am I being petty?
No, I think the pettiness was when I said more educated people are not Republicans.
Well, I would also be a little more petty too and go along the lines of saying if more people went to college, it'd be more secular people as well.
Well, there you go.
Also yes.
Especially in this day and age. But that's a topic for another show.
That right.
Yeah, more people might actually get vaccinated.
There you go. So the official statement came from Governor Michelle Grissom on Wednesday last week that they are going to offer a New Mexico Opportunity Scholarship, a program that will, in conjunction with the existing state and federal scholarships and grant program, provide for 100% of undergraduate tuition and fees at New Mexico institutions of higher education for eligible in-state resident students. Now, I'm a little tempted to move down there and put my residence down there for my kids, because it doesn't actually spell out how long you have to be a resident, right? But think about it. If you move your residency down there, you don't have to attend, you don't have to live down there, you just have to, fly back and forth. And it might actually be cheaper than me paying for my kids' college to fly back and forth, even every weekend. With all the free frequent flyer miles, red-eye flights, whatever. Or maybe my company will open a branch up down in New Mexico. Who knows, right? But when we look at it and we say, what is this all about? They're talking about impacting 55,000 students next year in 29 different education centers. That's just crazy to me.
Well, we have that here in Michigan, too, in certain cities. The Kalamazoo Promise and the Benton Harbor Promise, where the cities have had private donors doing the same thing, but you had to attend the high school, and it's on like a sliding scale. So if you're there from K through 12, you go 100% free to an in-state college, and it's less for the last year. They might help out 5-10%. But there are a couple cities in Michigan that did this with private donors, but not as a state legislation with tax money.
Yeah. And the other thing that it's doing is it's talking about the gap, right? So they essentially they have a 25 to 40% gap in what your tuition would normally cost. That's what it's going to cover. So it's not covering 100% free tuition. There's other programs and things inside of the state that are taking, part of it. There's other federal grants from the federal government that are able to be gotten, right? So this is only going to be covering the difference, because they're saying, hey, we believe in the students, but let's start there first. Let's take the other money first and add this as kind of like a bolt-on plan. Think about it like in my world, I have insurance and life insurance, right? And I have extra life insurance because it's cheap enough at my age that pays for 5 times my salary in case I'm murdered, which please don't anybody do that. I don't want to die now, but I pay $2 a month or $2 a week or something like that for extra insurance that adds 5 times my salary if I get murdered or killed or get cancer before, I hit 50.
Yeah, this sounds like a supplemental gap policy, really, in college tuition. Like if you buy a new car, it's called gap insurance. So in your first 2 years, your car's upside down because of negative equity. Where you have to pay a higher rate to cover that gap if you're total your car. Same thing here. We have federal money and other state money that comes in scholarship wise, but they'll plug all the holes at the end to make sure you don't come out owing any money.
Yeah. And here's the thing I think, right? And this is going to be interesting to see if this even hits the radar of the Trump administration. If they try to repeal any sort of federal taxes or any federal grants that go into New Mexico, it'll be very interesting to see that. And, I'm going to wager that this is going to fly underneath the radar enough that it's not going to hit, the big wigs over there. They're not even going to process this, at all.
Yeah, they're too worried about getting cars on an island.
It is interesting to see if they would withhold any sort of that funding, absolutely, and then see the mental gymnastics to try to justify and look for every single little loophole and non-factor to try to justify saying, no, we don't want to give you guys money because, you educate your people and those people don't support us anymore.
Yeah, how dare you?
Exactly. And it's
why.
Go ahead.
It's why I really get driven nuts. I have relatives who are conservatives, and I try not to talk politics with them because it hurts my brain, and especially because that's where I come from. But the whole idea of like avoiding a liberal education, because then, apparently you can't think for yourself if you study things differently than the way they did. And it's just this whole like post-secondary is now like this whole liberal education, because people who do succeed in university are more inclined to, believe in things like global warming and are more inclined to value a socialist or a more socialist system, and somehow that's bad.
Yeah. Well, it's also what happens is you have schools that, or ideologies that think that science and education is the enemy because it goes against their belief systems. And,
Oh, Lord.
you know,
Exactly. You know the other thing that they did too? Here's this is the kicker, right? And this is good news, right? I guess I'm kind of excited by this. I'm very fired up right now, right? And not because I'm angry. We already got past that. But I'm very fired up.
You're fired up.
You can. Yeah, because I'm talking with my hands.
And you're bouncing around a lot.
Yeah.
Around video.
Anyway, the best part about this whole thing is they gave a 4% mandated raise for college and university staff and faculty this summer. So
That's awesome.
Not only are they giving money to students, they're investing again in their faculty and their staff, right? So here we go again, for anybody that wants to say we can't afford this. And I'll be honest, I have not seen the financial plan behind it. They have not released it. And I would be actually very interested to know what got cut, how it got cut, did they raise taxes? Because they don't talk about raising taxes in here, which leads me to the assumption that there's not a raise in taxes, because we hear about that they're cutting money from some other part of the budget to deal with this. And we will dig more into this over the next coming couple of months as it gets released. But they also, on top of that, invested a $10 million scholarship fund that will help future educators who want to come to them that are more bilingual and have native backgrounds.
So whoever's making these decisions needs to be recognized for this, because this is a really progressive initiative that really shows values, or like good moral and value in education and taking care of people and showing appreciation, because that's not happening enough around here at all.
No shit.
Yeah. Now,
well, even in my province, we just reelected another fucking conservative government. One of the first things they did was stop an increase of funding to our education system. So my wife was a little concerned as a teacher. Might she have a job?
That's crazy. As Canada, too. It's just Calgary. Is it just a Calgary thing?
Alberta. I mean, Alberta has conservatives. We've pretty much always had the conservatives. And then Ontario now has the crack-smoking mayor's brother.
That guy. I forgot about him.
I did too.
Yeah, the crack-smoking mayor he's now dead. Not related to that. It was like a heart-related thing. I talked about it in my first little segment here. But his brother is now elevated from mayor to premier of a province. And the guy is definitely, if you were to find out that he were the crack smoking premier, you wouldn't be surprised, because he's just that out there.
He was the dealer.
Oh, and you don't get high off your own supply, the number one rule.
Yeah. I just think this is a great thing to do. New York has a similar program. Like you said, Kalamazoo, Michigan has a similar program, but none of it's been specific, with government dollar, right? Mm-hmm. And all of them have different caveats to them, and I'm sure this one will too. Again, I'd be interested to see how much this is really going to cost. They said the big thing, the reason they're doing this is because they've had an economic downturn there, and they need to get people into better industries to help create more economic, success for that state. Which makes sense, right? If you could put more scientists, if you could put more hospitals, you could put more of these other things in there, you can bring in more revenue in different areas to help provide, to pay, taxes for the state and help the state, economy boom. I don't know if I'd really want to live in New Mexico, honestly. It doesn't sound like a very fun state to live in, other than the free college. I don't know. I don't know that much about New Mexico, other than I had a coworker, their son played hockey down there for some amateur hockey league for 3 years until they didn't get recognized by the NHL and came back and went to college. So
rough.
I don't think he was that good, personally. He's really tall, skinny guy.
Not necessarily great for hockey, but also not necessarily bad. I mean, all depends on ability, really.
Yeah. I
mean, he definitely would not be a bruiser. No. Although he might get mistaken for a hockey stick if he's thin enough.
But he'd be too tall for a hockey stick. He was easily like 6'5", I believe. But
wow.
I don't know, how tall is Chara?
I don't know.
Isn't he, without skates, close to 7 feet tall?
Yeah, Yeah, you're right. But he's but he's also very thick too.
He's Russian. Of course he's thick.
Yeah, there's a little difference. This kid could hitch. I mean, I won't tell you that this kid, he wasn't like strong or anything, but he definitely was not. He was not very broad shouldered, and I just can't imagine him checking anybody. I just don't see it.
So it's like Dirk Nowitzki on skates. The Flying Dutchman. Well, just so you know, I just looked up this on U.S. News. It ranked the top 50 states. New Mexico's 46th out of 50 for states to live in.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
So I wonder if this will improve their inflow of people, if it'll increase their population in the next, say, 5 years or something. I'd be interested in that. If the quality of life improves there.
Yeah, they say that the median income is only $46,700 there, whereas the national average is $60,000. So they're well below a median income, to live there.
Yeah, it's a pretty desolate state too, like topography or geographically.
The actual cost that I see, so they do have a annualized rough cost of $25 to $35 million. That's what they say this will cost the state. Again,
only
I still can't.
But that's only if every single kid goes to college too, though.
Yes. Yep.
That's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, their goal obviously is to get everybody to go. But you're right. Yes, this is an anomaly, right? Where they're only getting 27% enrollment or something like that, and so for them to be able to even double that, just is amazing for the state.
Yeah, doubling it sounds a little more reasonable, at least for 1 year. Like you'll have a lot more freshmen, but maybe not as many sophomores and juniors going to college. Dropout rates or whatnot.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, right? I mean, if you can get more people to go to school, you can get more people, to get higher paying jobs. They can find other things that they're able to, enjoy in life. And you look at Maslow's pyramid, right? I mean, there you go.
The hierarchy of needs.
Yes. Well, and also if you have if you have a more educated and qualified workforce, you can attract other types of businesses. So they could say, let's really focus on renewable energies like frickin' solar. It's New Mexico. So why not be a pilot program to have colleges expedite a solar tech type of like a skilled trade of just for installers and maintenance and stuff like that, and research and technology.
What kind of commie speak is this, not talking about how we can enhance the oil industry and let it further rape and pillage our lands?
Yeah.
Kind of crazy talk is this?
And it kind of go back to that Kalamazoo promise, right? I just looked it up. They had a small issue when they first started, but over the course of the last couple of years, they are now having a 90% enrollment into college for any of their graduates.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's a high rate
90%
of enrollment.
And there's
unreal.
There's like 3 colleges right there, right? Like Kalamazoo Valley Community College, Western University, and then Kalamazoo College is another one's K College, right?
Yep. Yeah, they have because the 2 big ones are Kalamazoo Valley and K College. Those are the 2 big ones. Now their Western's a larger public university, but
that's a university. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the difference is these are landing schools for kids, right? You could start in community college and graduate to the higher level of learning, after that. So I don't know. It kind of goes from there. So I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting to talk about, and I think it's exciting to see that more states are attempting this. And all this does is this allows for us to have the ability to see if there's going to be any sort of change, to how we educate people.
Yeah, it's a good pilot program.
And the one thing that that drives me being more pro tuition free, or even just like really low tuition, higher education is the fact that, more businesses are moving towards this model of where they require you to have a degree of some sort of undergraduate education. And the reason they're doing that is not because they want you to be an expert in that field or in any field. It's just because they want to know that you've had the discipline, you've had the training to, handle a more professional environment. I mean, some of the jobs I've applied for, they just wanted to know that I could at least, type stuff good, or that my English skills were, as such that I could at least somewhat communicate with people around me. I could handle my own in a work environment without having to have them hire like a translator or something like that. Along those lines, and making that degree of education more of a prerequisite just for like a lower end job really limits the potential of the workforce, because really all they can do is these really low end, low wage jobs, because they don't have the education. They couldn't afford the education, so they could get something that pays more than $47,000 a year.
Yeah.
And this was something that I noticed when I was in the Philippines with my wife at Christmas there, because we were in the mall in Manila, and I saw job advertisements, and they had some crazy requirements for men and crazy requirements for women. Like you had to have a certain height, you had to have, college education and stuff. And these were just so you could be like a bag boy at a grocery store. And I turned to my wife and I'm like, they really want somebody that educated for that job? And she goes, well, they can be that picky. Like they just have that large of a sample that they can pluck their workforce from, that they just want to make sure that they've got the best people doing it. And you have to have that education just to make minimum wage.
In the Philippines, is free education as well, right?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
But what I can say is that in spite of the fact that Duterte is, he's an interesting fellow. Anybody who's followed his leadership, I guess, can tell you that he's a very interesting individual. He was very profane. I was watching a public address he was doing, and he was criticizing, Christians who were, they would go to church on Sunday and then they'd be celebrating violence or, people suffering, the next being such big hypocritical Christians and all that. And he's a very vocal atheist, which is really weird given that the Philippines is like 88% Catholic.
Yeah. And
anyways, he also put in public health care. So you guys are now behind the Philippines for healthcare. One of the countries that you guys dump your garbage in has better healthcare than you guys. How does that make you Americans feel?
Like moving to Canada?
Is that a segue?
It's a little bit of a segue because it's time for our Canadian segment. Because we're all Canadians here. I don't know. Maybe we are. Maybe we aren't.
I'll start. I'll rip off everybody's agnostic with, and I'll call it everybody's Canadian.
There you go. Except for you're on our podcast now, so I don't think it works that way. And you know what? Hey Keith, I think Trump he just called.
Don't you dare!
He did.
Don't you dare! I was
He
starting
loves
to like
Canada.
you again.
He loves Canada. He just said it. Hold on. I can't quite hear it.
I quit.
Oh, he said it again,
off,
Keith.
I quit.
I don't know what to tell you, but Trump loves Canada so much, he made an appearance on Cellar Door Skeptics just to tell us how much he loves Canada. I don't know. I love that soundbite. I got to turn it up a little bit, but I love that soundbite. I'm going to put a little homage video together with you. I think Keith is Boyce is recording this video, and at your face right now, I'm just going to take it, and I'm going to make it do little crazy things. I don't know. Anyway, you're right. It is a good segue. It is definitely time to talk a little bit Canadian. Am I allowed to say that, or is that racist?
That's our word. No, you can use that.
It's our word. You can't say that.
All right. So when we last left off, I was telling you about our racist first prime minister. But we're going to put the history aside today. We're going to leave it in the past. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk today more about some stuff that's going on, and then for funsies, I'm going to have the boys see if they can figure out some local slang that even I didn't know.
Ooh. So what kind of local slang?
Apparently, it's Calgary. like local to Calgary specifically.
All right, so it's
And it
not
means-
like it's not like a branched out part. It's not like the whole of Canada. So like, I shouldn't memorize this and like take it to other
Some of it
provinces?
will work. Some of it provinces.
Providences.
Province is another word. I mean,
Not
some
the
of it
city.
I think translates well.
Okay.
Okay. So first things first, we're going to talk a little bit about the Greta Thunberg. She's the 16-year-old Swedish activist. She sailed across the Atlantic from England to was it New York that she went to? Crap. I didn't do
Yeah, I
enough
think she
research
went to New York.
in her zero-emission yacht. She's been invited to receive a key to the city of Montreal by Montreal Mayor Valérie Plante, and I totally botched that because I'm not French. The mayor, she welcomed the activist who's going to be given the honor after the climate march on September 27th. And just for those of you who are unaware, since this is coming out on Tuesday, it's a couple of days before the march is supposed to take place.
So I have a question first, though. Is Valerie, what party does she affiliate with?
So our mayors actually don't adhere to parties.
All right, that's weird.
Wait,
Go
your
on.
your mayors have parties?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it is quite clear which mayors support which or where their political affiliations lie, but they're not parties. Like, they're completely independent.
Not here. We're stay on teams everywhere.
Like, wow, that's
We're like shitty football teams. Like we're the shitty cable networks. We both do the exact same thing for the most part, and we have our own jurisdictions, and they don't go very, very far between the two.
That's mind blowing to me. I didn't know that. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, the mayor of Calgary is rather left leaning, which is weird given that Calgary's not typically left leaning.
Yeah.
But
And it's funny because, when I Googled Grand Rapids mayor, right, it comes up in Wikipedia with her political party. And when I do it for Montreal, no political party. That's why I didn't understand. That's why I asked the question. I just didn't understand I don't understand how it works because in our world, it makes no sense.
Wow. Huh. Americans, they're not like everybody else. All right. So on September 27th, there are already plans for over 860 cities to have protests, and it's all in response to climate change, basically to try to raise awareness and get governments to do something about it. And it should also be noted that the Premier of Quebec, François Legault, did not invite Thunberg to meet him exclusively. He did, however, comment by saying she's a very dedicated young girl, and I would like to meet her if she's available in Montreal during her stay. So while he didn't go rush out to meet her, he did extend the olive branch, and I do think there's something to be said for that because I don't even think Kenny would have the decency to do that. Another fun fact about Montreal is that on the 21st of September, they participated in celebrating the 80th anniversary of Batman by shining the bat symbol.
That's awesome.
So that makes me happy.
Did Christian Bale show up? Did he show up by chance?
No.
Oh.
No. He was too busy cleaning out his voice box of all that phlegm. So Thunberg's visit has actually not been all, unicorns, rainbows, and happiness. The leader of the People's Party of Canada, Maxime Bernier, he referred to her as mentally unstable and cited her autism, which she is very open. She actually tweeted about how she has Asperger's, things like that. And then after he got all the flack for that, because he didn't just list that, he also talked about, I believe it was anxiety, an eating disorder and all of that, and said, mentally not stable enough, whatever. But when that started to blow up in his face, he started to claim that he didn't want to denigrate her or anybody with her condition. He went on to backtrack and say that she is a very brave young woman who has been able to overcome her problem and deserves our admiration for that. So basically, he didn't say the thing that he said. All these are available on Twitter, and if you follow the show notes, you will be able to find the tweets. And then he further clarified They further went on to clarify that he wanted to show that the choice of the influential groups and the media to make her spokesperson for climate change is climate alarmism, and they're not innocent in this. So he's basically trying to shift it and, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain and all of that good stuff. So really all we can see in what he said is that he's just trying to stir up further controversy and undermine her because of her diagnoses. It's really just about discrediting her. And it's evident in his alleging that him calling green leftists wanting people to focus on her feelings to prevent debate on what he calls a radical ideology. So I did talk to some politically savvy friends of mine to clarify. And the People's Party of Canada is further right than our conservative branch. They are our libertarian party. So we have them too, guys.
I know, that's sad. I mean, they got to exist somewhere, right?
Yeah. So just to kind of show what kind of piece of shit they are in the People's Party of Canada, there was controversy a little while ago, I think it was in Halifax, where a billboard saying "Say no to mass immigration" with Bernier's face and their logo and all of that was put up and then taken down. And then Bernier's statement about it was that although he agreed with the message, he didn't approve it. His party is also using a slogan, and I actually saw this on my drive to dinner with my wife, that they want to impose pipelines on the provinces. So that we're just going to bully people for the oil industry now. So if anybody wants to know where the right stand, the politically right stands in our country, hint, oil.
Hey, it sounds like the same thing in our country.
Yeah, that's been great. And the next little thing that I grabbed is I felt it would be most honest of me to grab this, is because it has been making the rounds, and we are in an election cycle, so it has really been making the rounds. Is Justin Trudeau had photos released where he was doing brownface. So, as I'm sure many of you heard, the photos were released back in 2001. He was photographed at West Point Grey Academy as a very dark-skinned version of Aladdin. The theme of the night, the theme of that party being Arabian Nights. Now, other pictures did show him posing with Sunny Khurana, and I hope that's pronouncing his name right. He is Punjabi. He actually was interviewed for this. He gave statements on this rather, and you can read those in the show notes.
So I'm going to stop you right there, though. Second.
Yeah.
You're not trying to imply that just because he posed with somebody else, they said this is okay, right?
Well, we're getting there.
Okay. All right. I'll stop talking.
No, that's okay. I like clear.
Sir, how dare you?
So what Sunny's comment is that Justin wasn't trying to demean anybody who was a person of color, and from what he could recall of the function, it never came across as that. And he didn't even think of it. It was a good party. They had fun. It's a theme party. And he doesn't see it as a racist act. And he said that others at the party didn't seem to object to the costume. Now, of course, brownface is, same as blackface, and it's been widely denounced as a racist practice that contributes to stereotypes and has been socially kicked out of modern practice, except by those who are really racist. But to further clarify his stance, Sunny did comment that though he himself was not offended, he did understand why others would be. So he didn't tear them down. I thought that was really cool. Then Trudeau did apologize. He acknowledged that he himself is a man of privilege, and in the moment that he did this, he acted very much out of ignorance to how this might be seen to those facing discrimination based on the color of their skin. Now, obviously, as a white guy, not really up to me to decide whether or not the apology was good enough. So if you'd like to look into it and make your own decisions, again, show notes. And the last thing I want to say on that is so much of the blowback of this incident has come from people who have for so long worked to shut down the conversations of privilege and racism. So don't be fooled when suddenly Andrew Scheer, leader of the Conservative Party, is condemning racism because it's election season, folks. He just wants the vote.
So, good. Can we we go back. So did Trudeau talk about this again? I don't see and hear where he's come out and had this conversation.
I believe he has come out. I think he's had to apologize again because more pictures have been released, and I think there was even a video. I mean, if you look back in the context of the time, people weren't making as big of a deal of this as racism. Yes, it pretty much is. I mean, let's not mince words about it. It is. I mean, it is a practice that has for so long been used to exaggerate and mock stereotypes. I mean, I think we've all seen some horrid clip of a minstrel show.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Well, and also the Prince Harry or one of those two little turds had their Nazi thing on, you know, and they got, because they're elite, they're given a pass because they're elite.
He had ginger face.
Yeah. And I don't know if this should disqualify him as an individual. I think that, and I'm going to go, I guess I'll Google this, but, you know, to me, the big thing here is what is he going to do about it? How is he going to address it? And if I have to hear, no offense, but if I have to hear, well, it was acceptable at the time, but it's not now. But, you know, at the time, if I have to hear that as an excuse, I get it. Who gives a shit, though? You know, I mean, to me, it's no longer I care. I care more about how he wants to respond to it than anything else. Tell me what you're going to do about it. What you want to talk about. Apologize, you know, and come back. And you know, if he does all those things, we can still say, hey, that was a shitty thing you did. And you should be aware of it, and we shouldn't ignore it, and I'm not going to excuse it. But at the exact same time, you know, I don't want to hear about how these other people have done the same thing. And kind of at the bottom of that article, they talk about how these other two people have done, you know, similar things, and it's like, I don't care. Yeah. At this point, though...
The whataboutism.
Yeah. At this point, what are you going to do to change your image, and can you figure out a way to make it, you know, so that we at least can accept you as an individual. And, you know, if he came out and said, hey, you know what, here's another individual that is as smart as me, as good as me, and they're a minority, and you know what, maybe you should vote for them too, great. Right. But that's not happened. No, we haven't had any contenders. The only contenders you have is like all these conservative, you know, jank people that are just using this as a way to criticize him.
No, I didn't look for comment, but the leader of the NDP, which is our furthest left party without going into the more niche parties, I'm not 100% sure what his response has been, but he is one who wears a turban himself, and I'm not 100% sure if he's had any sort of reaction to it or not. But back to the apology, I will give him credit because it didn't sound like he was trying to say, no, it was a different time, blah, blah, blah. It didn't seem racist. I mean, from my perspective, but again, like that's not really up for me to decide, right? Is I would prefer people like take a look at it and decide whether or not they think he is worthy, especially if they are liberal supporters and all of that. Take a look at it, decide if it's worth it. I mean, he has pushed for some in diversity within his party, which, I mean, could be indicative that he has grown, he has learned, but again, not my place.
Yeah. I mean, in his apology, so he has issued an apology. He has. Mm-hmm. And he essentially said, you know, that he understands what he did was wrong, and he understands that he let a lot of people down, and that he was not being a good ally. Mm-hmm. And that what he did was dismissive.
Yeah, it's not a perfect apology, and so in light of that, it should be taken with a grain of salt, especially because there has been a deal of controversy surrounding the way he behaves with specific individuals, which I can't totally speak to. I just usually a lot of these things tend to be so sensationalized that I just end up, my eyes glaze over and I'm like, oh, look, somebody posted cats on the internet. But I do try to at least be aware of it. But he has had allegations put forth against him of being a little improper with women in the past. So I do think maybe he might do well to step back and let somebody else step up. But I guess time will tell with what happens.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what are the options for Canada if he steps down, though?
There is the NDP. Not that I think that they're a viable contender for having anything federally in terms of power. I mean, it would be a nice switch to see somebody other than the Liberals or the Conservatives, because it's only really been those two parties leading since I can remember. But ultimately, Canadian politics a lot of the time is kind of a matter of which is your favorite STD. Yeah, it's
all of them.
Yeah, that's never mind.
Wrong answer.
Secret answer E. Ew. Hey, Tanner, can we move on?
Yeah, we can.
I've got that image burned into my brain.
Yeah. Anyway, so as we wrap it up, I don't know. I think it's a problem. I agree with you.
Yep.
I'm hoping that there becomes a contender that will say, "Hey, we should take your place." Why doesn't he step down, walk into the background? But again, I don't know a lot about Canadian politics, so I don't even know, to some extent how effective he is. There's so many things to learn compared to American politics. I mean, look, we learned tonight your mayors don't have political parties. I don't know.
Yeah. I never thought about that.
Just crazy to me.
So
are we ready for Canada funsies? Yes.
All right. So I have, is it 12? 12 slang terms that are, according to this article, unique to Calgary, although some of them may have originated elsewhere. I'm going to give you the term, and then I want each of you to try to tell me what you think it means. So you guys may have actually heard me use the first one here. So this might be a little bit of a softball, but easy in. So the first term I'm going to throw at you is Cowtown.
Cowtown?
Cowtown.
Got me. Meatheads.
No.
Wrong answer.
Oh, that's what I need is the buzzer to go.
Yes.
And Tanner, any thoughts?
I'm assuming it's chew your own cud.
No.
Or maybe chew your own tobacco. Is that a viable thing?
No.
No. All right.
Who chews your tobacco?
No, nobody. I don't chew
it's like a
tobacco.
baby bird thing with the chewing tobacco. You've clearly never sat next to somebody on the bus who spit and chew.
No, I have, but not on a bus.
Oh, it's revolting. Okay, so Cowtown is the name we call our city because apparently we have many farms slightly outside and it often smells like cow shit. So we call Calgary Cowtown. Yeah. Admittedly, I call it that too because, I want to be hip and young like the kids. Okay. So the next one that we've got, Berta, Berta.
Yeah. An abbreviation for Alberta.
That's your final answer, boys?
Seems
what
logical.
is it again?
Berta.
I'm going to go with the It's Always Sunny reference, and it's like a insult to women like they do on there where they call Dee a bird.
Final answer?
Yep.
I'm going to give boys the point on that one.
What? All right. Ridiculous.
Because it is a slightly more annoying and easier way of saying Alberta, allegedly. It's contracted and it helps when you put that country twang to it. Alberta, that sort of thing.
It kind of sounds like you're saying a bird. Duh. I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws. Move on. Good God.
This next one, it bothers me, but it's on this list, so we're going to fucking roll with it. PEDE. P-E-D-E.
Is it when Trump pees his pants?
No, that's just when he goes to Russia.
A walker. Someone that's walking across the street or some shit, like a ambulatory person.
Final answer?
Yes.
Tanner?
Yep.
Not to be confused with the term peed, meaning the past tense of urinated. It is a supposedly easier way of referring to the Calgary Stampede.
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is the Calgary? What is
Calgary
the Stampede?
Isn't that the
Is that like when
football
all the
team?
hockey players
No,
came
that's
out?
the Stampeders.
Oh,
No, the Stampede. It's an annual 10-day festival. Basically, it's over 100 years old at this point. It started off as an agricultural exhibition and has kind of grown into like the county fair, but for Calgary.
Is there a lot of cowboys up there?
So Calgary has slated itself as the heart of the New West. We tend to think we are big into country. For the 10 days of the Stampede every year, all you can hear anywhere, everywhere is country music, and all you see is people in cowboy hats and plaid and jeans and cowboy
You eat
boots.
bull's testicles there?
Oh.
I haven't.
Do
but
they
I
have them
can.
at the festival?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, then I'll count it as official. If they don't, Americans got that shit, man.
Actually, in recent years, the food has really been one of the driving big marketing things behind the Stampede. Is just because they keep raising up the prices, and really the only people other than the only people who really go there for any sort of business or whatever is like literally just farmers and whatnot. And they actually have the agrium where they showcase horses and all of that. They have a small rodeo that goes on and everything. It's fun, but it gets old quick. Calgary's population almost doubles every year during those 10 days. It's insane. All right, moving on. Ferda boys. 2 words. First word, Ferda, F-E-R-D-A. Second word, boys, B-O-Y-S.
How do you spell that again? Ferda?
F-E-R-D-A.
Ferda. Huh.
Well, if we go back to Berta, it's going to be something. It's going to be something about 4 boys. That's all I got. 4 boys, because and it sounds really awful, like kind of child molestery. I won't lie, but 4 boys, because Berta is like an abbreviation for Alberta. Berta is something for something boys. It has to be.
I got a good guess. It's not a good guess. It's just a guess. Let's clarify. I'm gonna say it's an abbreviation for the word fertilizer, and it's these boys that stink. Stink ass boys.
Boys,
Fingers
I
crossed.
love your answer, but I actually have to give this one to Tanner.
Shite.
So also shortened down to Ferda. It's basically Ferda boys, or for the boys. It's basically just a common excuse for a guy to do something extremely dumb, usually while drunk. So, pro tip: if you ever hear a younger gentleman saying he's about to do something for the boys, get the fuck out of there. Get out of there. Yet you don't want to be part of the fallout from whatever is about to happen.
I'm gonna start using that now. I love it.
Oh my God. Not on the show, boys. Not on the show.
All right, boys. You know what we have to do now. All right. So the next one. Calgs. C-A-L-G-S.
Okay. You've said this before. I know you've said this word before. Or they've said it in a hockey thing. It's just Calgary. Calgary. That's all it is. It's like we say GR for Grand Rapids.
People of Calgary, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Maybe it's got something with sports again, and it's the name of their mascot.
Well, they have a big hockey team, so
I don't know.
that's final answers.
Yep.
Yeah, fuck it.
Calgs is short for Calgary.
Yeah, I think you said that, or it's come up on a Red Wings
probably
game.
have. It very well may have. And for the record, our mascot for our hockey team is Harvey the Hound.
That's not as good as Philadelphia's mascot.
The Philly?
No, for the
Not
hockey
Philly
team.
paper?
Don't you read
Flyers.
Have you not seen the John Oliver segment?
No.
All right. We're going to keep moving on. Your homework
Yep.
tonight is to find that, and then next week we're going to have a whole conversation about that.
I look forward to
And
it.
you have to Google you have to Google I'm going to find it for you. It's in the video. Just move on. I'm sorry.
Snort and move on. I see how it is.
Keep going.
He doesn't want to keep snorting on this one. All right. So the next term, May Longy.
Maylongi. Huh. Maylongi.
Or May Longy or May Longy.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Mayday.
I'm gonna keep with the cowboy theme and say somehow that's like something a cowboy says to the horses to get them to slow down or stop or some shit.
Yeah, I changed my answer to Boyce's. I like that one.
No.
Okay. Damn it.
It's a reach. I'll admit it.
It's the term for the May long weekend, aka the Victoria Day long weekend. And Calgary pro tip: the more wise somebody uses at the end of longy, the drunker you are.
All right.
Jesus.
This one I think you guys actually would know because this was kind of a very popular term for a while there. Dad bod.
Boyce Littlefield.
Oh.
Shit. Yeah, your picture was right there in the article. Fuck.
Ooh, that's your new nickname, Dad Bod.
Aw.
Hey, I lost some weight, damn it. Oh, sorry. Dad bod. It's
It
not
has
fat. It's like a skinny fat guy, you know.
I was gonna say it's a attractive fat guy. I don't know.
It's the body type that country boys are trying to achieve. So it's a guy who looks like he works out, but he also enjoys pizza and beer.
Yeah.
I like
Boyce
pizza and
Littlefield.
whiskey.
Close enough. All right. So this next one. Smokatokes.
Smokatokes. It's got to be like cigarettes or weed.
It's weed. It's got to be weed. I'll take a Smokatokes.
All right. So Smokatokes is the slang name for Okotoks, a small town just south of Calgary.
Dumb.
Oh, well.
Ass.
I'm sure you can guess why.
Oh.
It's very well known for a very high population of drug dealers.
Oh. Okay. So we were kind of right.
Yeah, half points each. All right. So the next one, Just Givener.
Ooh. Use it in context.
Just Givener.
Oh.
You're giving someone a hard time.
No, I'm going to
Busting
go
their
with the
balls.
opposite. I'm going to go with the opposite one. I'm going to go with the sexual one. You're just giving it to her. Hard and fast.
I think it's when you're giving someone you're busting someone's balls.
Final answers?
Yeah,
I'm going with mine.
All right.
America.
Berta. It is literally meaning to do something fast or hard or with an excessive amount of effort put into it.
Giving
The
it
movie
to
was
her.
Just giving her all she's got. Giving it all she's got.
The college try.
Well, for
So
you,
this
that was
next-
12 seconds.
That's being generous. 12 seconds of crying after, maybe. So this next one is really going to get us the explicit tag. Fucking A.
Oh.
Is that like saying buddy? Fucking A, buddy. Fucking A.
It's like saying yeah, like slang for yeah, I agree with you or some shit. Like, yeah, that's right.
Like, what the fuck? That's what it means. It's WTF, except for in Canadian.
But fucking A. It's like, yeah, you're right. That's right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Final
Tanner?
answer.
What the fuck?
Gotta give this one to Boyce. Often used in agreement, sometimes used in disagreement, can be used in the place of what the... Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, you could both get partial points for this.
Ayo!
Because it's usually used when drunk, apparently. The term is usually followed by the terms bud or man, so it's often used fucking A, man, or fucking A, bud. And
Or
I gotta
fucking A,
admit,
buddy.
Buddy, fucking A.
Exactly.
I say-
South Park taught me a lot.
I say fucking A right, boys.
Next up, man, if neither of you guys get this one, I'm gonna be really offended. Bud or buddy.
Your friend?
Obviously, yes.
Is that what it is? It has to be.
A term used to address your best friend, your beer, the guy you're trying to friend zone, the dude you're about to punch in the nose. Us Canadians are so sweet. This term is just the gift that keeps on giving.
Fucking A, buddy. See?
Giving her.
Fucking A, buddy, just giving her. All right, so we have the last one here.
Hold on. This feels like I'm on an episode of Fargo real quick, and this is awesome. Fucking A right, buddy. Giving her.
Just giving her, man. Let me tell you what it's about. All right, so we got the last one here. Get weird. And there is some specificity to this one. Not a lot, but some.
I'm going to guess that it's like getting severely intoxicated and having sex while intoxicated. Fuck it.
I'm going with I'm going to go back to the sex thing again, and I'm just going to say it's when they walk in and say, "I'm open. You want to be open? Let's have some kinky bullshit." There you go.
Boyce gets partial points because the definition is getting drunk enough to perform questionable acts and not feel like a total asshat about it. It's made popular by the show Workaholics. So if a person walks into a party and yells, "Let's get weird," you should probably leave that party because the authorities will be called by the end of the night.
I love Workaholics.
So those are 12 slang terms you will almost guaranteed hear in Calgary, some of which you've already heard by me. Some of them I haven't quite had the brain damage to use. But just looking at the points, I'm going to say y'all tied.
Oh, come on. We gotta have more competition here, man.
I wasn't expecting that.
You're a politician
I
now.
even half pointed things, all right?
Oh,
I tried.
You didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, clearly.
Anyway, you
Give
know
it
what
a
Trump
bird
has to
a
say about that?
I swear to God, Chris, I will hang up.
He loves Canada. I don't know what to tell you.
No, Trump says, please take my wife.
No.
Maybe I can sell them Melania.
Oh, I don't know, man. So are you going to have one of those like every week for us?
I'm going to try to have something. Oh, what the fuck is that? Nope. You know what? I just updated my my quick save here. Not something quite like that. I'm going to try to find some way of teaching, but give it a little bit of pizzazz and fun, because as much as I'm enjoying actually going through and learning about my country that I didn't learn in school, because our education isn't always great. I mean, we learn a lot about everybody else, but not so much about ourselves, and I'm starting to learn why. And it's great to come and talk and discuss the shadier parts of my country's history and why maybe we're not perfect. I do want to make it have fun, and if you do come here, maybe give you something worth the price of admission.
Fair enough.
I think we should flip the script next time. We'll bring up some weird ones from like Boston.
Oh, you could do that. I actually, while we were talking about this, I have one that we can do next week too.
Perfect.
I have one even crazier that is not American. It just, they all come from America for the most part.
This will be fun.
Yep. And I'm not going to tell you so you can't be proactive.
I don't care. This is glorious.
All right. I kind of feel like playing the "Fuck You I'm Drunk" song now. Oh,
Getting there.
Can't do
Getting
that.
there.
All right. So, does anybody have any quick saves for the week?
Oh yeah, I'll go first. I'm just going to talk about the interview I had this week with Richard Ojeda. He was a senator of West Virginia, and he's a 22-year Army veteran. He's a paratrooper, and he came on my YouTube channel and really talked about the absolute pure corruption of our politicians by lobbyists, where he says you would not even understand how many people he saw at the state level. You can only imagine how bad it is at the federal level. And it just goes to speak that we really do need to address this thing, because our country is literally for sale, and it's being bought every cycle. And we need to make an election. Got to make a choice in this election to choose someone who's going to actually address the problem of the real corruption and money in our politics.
Amen.
It is a good interview. From what I've heard of it so far, it is actually a pretty good interview. He seems like a really interesting guy.
Yeah, he's intense.
And is that live right now?
Yeah, it's up. Mm-hmm. I just did it a couple days ago.
Awesome. All right. How about for you, Mr. Heath?
Yeah, what the fuck is this? You sent me the mascot for Philadelphia Flyers?
I did.
That Gritty on the ice? Oh my. You know what? No, I like this. I like that. That's what mascots need to be. He's clearly fun. He is never a dull moment. And to be honest, I can't ever see how that might actually be racist unless it's co-opted by racists. Like something like that. It's off the wall. It's different. It's great. It's awesome. It's completely non-offensive. It can't be offensive unless it's made to be offensive. You have to want it to be offensive. I love this thing. It is bonkers and it's great, and I want to hug it.
Did you look at the picture of Gritty, Boyce?
Yeah, I just looked at it. It's really creepy. It looks like one of the Muppets on meth.
It literally looks like it was ripped off of Avenue Q, and that's great.
So there is a segment John Oliver does on this whole thing. If you have, I'll find that link too, and I'll post it after the show. But if you have not watched that, like that out of everything John Oliver has done, that's the best. And I'll be honest with you, I want to go to Philadelphia just to see this fucker.
Oh yes.
Like, I don't even understand. I don't understand why, why he exists. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't know. I don't understand how these people came up with this at all.
Can you imagine the board meeting? There's like drawing out all these different drawings of these different people, like a flyer, like a filly. Oh, like a horse? No. Like this? No. How about a tripped out, drugged out, meth head looking Muppet? Perfect.
That is what I want representing my team.
You want to know how he was found?
Oh,
he had a secret hideout, and he was disturbed, so he came out for his debut.
What? Something wrong with your nose, bro.
I don't know, man. No, I'm dead serious. That's what's in there. That's what they say.
Oh,
that's
wow.
It?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He's
a
meth bender.
Like, I don't know. I don't
He's
even.
Just giving her.
He's just giving her. Exactly. I don't know, man. Like, it makes no sense. Who came up with this? In any way, shape, or form.
I want whatever drugs they were on, because that's great.
He was just having a bender up in Berta.
He did it for Du Bois.
Oh, yeah. We can do this all night.
He was voted the number one mascot of the league, too.
Fuck it, that's great.
The meth scot?
Like, I don't.
You got something on your microphone.
I don't even understand how he came about. Who decided that he was going to be? I don't know. I don't get it. All I know is that I think we all have the wrong jobs. That's
How
it.
is that so funny? The meth Scott. I don't know, but that's great.
All right, my quick save of the week is this board game called Labyrinth by Ravensburg Games. And I only say this because we went. We had some friends, and they don't have kids, but we have kids, right? You know, and I can't ditch my kids all the time. So we went to our local board game store to do family board games. And on the wall, my daughter's obsessed with dragons and stuff like that. And on the wall, this box has a dragon in it. And I don't have it on my table to show you, but so my daughter wanted to play it. And it's actually a pretty easy game. Essentially, you go through the labyrinth, move tiles to try and, you know, save the different artifacts or treasures, whatever you want to call it. And so we spent more than 6 hours this weekend playing that one specific game. I had to buy the game for the bloody board game store to bring it home so the kids could play it instead of having to go to the board game store every time. So if you're looking for a easy, family-friendly board game that doesn't involve a weird, creepy mascot,
a meth-scot,
this one is for you.
It's the one with David Bowie?
No. It's a whole different one. Click the link, man.
Oh,
he linked to this.
Jesus.
There's a link in there.
Okay, my bad.
They have one. Don't get me wrong. They have one with David Bowie. We have not played that one, but this one's a lot easier. You can play it with your kids.
Oh boy.
Anyway, as we wrap the show up for tonight, and we get away from the
lost the other
mascot,
people here.
Yeah, we get away from the mascot. And Boyce, tell everybody how they can find you.
Just go to any kind of search program. Do Mindful Skeptics Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and I'll be there waiting for you.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Next week we will have a special surprise for. I guess it's my turn to come up with a crazy icebreaker round, and it won't be gritty. Though you have to admit that was pretty good comedy. You laughed harder than you have laughed all night.
That was the highlight of the night.
I still can't believe neither one of you knew about grit, but especially
like
being from
did,
Canada, aren't you all obsessed with hockey up there?
Some of us are. I mean, a good chunk of us. I'm not one.
Oh, you just like that dad bods and the
Giving her.
Just giving her boys.
Those giving her boys.
Just giving her boys. Getting weird.
Anyway, thank you all for joining us for another Cellar Door Skeptics. This week was definitely not as long as last week, but it was pretty close. We'll be back next week with another amazing episode of Cellar Door Skeptics, along with these two amazing gentlemen. Maybe a little bit more gritty to talk about, and a new poll that we get to have a conversation about. Thank you all, and have an amazing night.
Yay!
You've been listening to a presentation of Cellar Door Skeptics. Check us out on Spreaker. CellarDoorSkeptics.com. You've been listening to Cellar Door Skeptics.
Looking for something new and exciting, or maybe just a change from the old Atheist Show format? Cellar Door Skeptics Podcast provides listeners with hours of enjoyment each week on Spreaker and iTunes. Check us out as we talk politics, religion, science, reviews of books and music, along with the occasional interview just for a twist. Join Christopher Tanner and Chris Hanna every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern as they bring fresh content to you. Walk with us through the cellar door as we help you prepare for the revolution. You can find us on Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, and even on Facebook.